Hi, welcome to Take 5, where we daily consider devotional thoughts from Oswald Chambers' book, My Utmost for His Highest. Today is February 4th, and the title of today's devotional is The Compelling Majesty of His Power. The love of Christ compels us, 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 14. The Christian recognizes their need for God's control over them. The question Chamber addresses today is if we actually allow that love of God to control us, to direct our very being. Chamber opens with, Paul said that he was overpowered, subdued, and held as in a vice by the love of Christ. Very few of us really know what it means to be held in the grip of the love of God. We tend so often to be controlled simply by our own experience. Dr. Chambers argues that few, if any, of us actually know what it is to live as one controlled by the love of God. We profess our love for God. We make some feeble gestures of sorts that are intended to demonstrate us having a love for God, but you and I know that the majority of our life is actually run by us and our own ideas. The idea of God controlling our lives is only given lip service. We don't have the faintest idea of what it is to be a slave to righteousness, Romans 6 and verse 18. These are terms Paul used in an attempt to get his readers to understand what their relationship to God was to resemble. It's a controlling love that he has over us, but not to make us bitter. His love within us as the control factor is to grow us in righteousness and his likeness. Quoting Dr. Chambers, Paul said that he was gripped by the love of God, and that is why he acted as he did. People could perceive him as mad or insane. He did not care. There was only one thing he lived for, to persuade people of the coming judgment of God and to tell them of the love of Christ. Can you say that you behave as you do because the love of Christ compels you? Your behavior is only to be seen as his witness, Acts 1 and verse 8. Or do you carry the ego, as most do, of wanting to impress others and not be considered fanatical? This speaks of the failure of today's church and those who profess Christ, the desire to remain a part of this world, yet while wanting to be his child. We lack a sense of ownership by God or a sense of significance it carries. Mankind has a built-in resistance of being controlled by another. We don't like it. The control of which Paul speaks is not a negative force of dominance over us. It's not until you submit to longing for his control over your life by his love will you ever experience true fulfillment in him and of him. Jesus said, I come to give you life and life more abundant, John 10 and verse 10. But this fullness of life is impossible to experience without allowing the control of his love over us. Chambers says that this total surrender to the love of Christ is the only thing that will bear fruit in your life. If you haven't yet read today's devotional from Dr. Chambers' book, I encourage you to do so, for it will enhance the time that we spend together. It's available free online to study. I invite you here to share any thoughts that you may have on today or any questions. Please be sure to share prayer requests as well. And now may God's grace and peace be ours as we seek to live our utmost for his highest. God bless you. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye now.